Hey guys, new video here. Today we answer the question, is using blood-filled rituals worth it? And if you're just here for the end result, I'm going to give it TLDR. Yes, it is worth it under the conditions that you get it yourself. So I wouldn't really like buy ritual vessels from other people, but if you are doing maps of any kind and you see a juicy ritual, you have a ritual that spawns on top of the boss, so it is part of the spawn, I would definitely capture that, with the ritual vessels that you have. Because like in bulk, these vessels are like, I think they're like 9 or 10 C, so kind of pricey. But I'm going to go over the results so you can kind of decide for yourself. But once again, TLDR, yes, absolutely. They are really, really fun. I don't feel like I miss out that much on the scarabs or other map like fragment usages that I could put in there. And it was a great time. I think that this league, people might think that it sucks because the rituals are like, they take a long time. It's like, oh man, I got to T16s and the rituals feel like garbage. And I kind of felt that way too until I tried out the blood-filled rituals. Okay. Now, in no way am I making this video to try to sell any blood-filled rituals. I'm not trying to influence pricing on anything. I actually have like too many of them myself, which I'm going to be using for myself. And this is just kind of be my thoughts. And if you feel a certain way, like I know a lot of people skip rituals, and if you feel like it's not worth doing, then just don't do it, right? Like it's totally up to you. But hopefully that my results here will shed some light on what matters, what doesn't when using rituals. Okay. So for the very, very new players, okay, before we get into this juicy data and stuff, what are ritual vessels? So if we take a clean one, right? You've obviously gone to a map, you've seen them spawn. When you click on them, spawn some monsters, and then it's over, and you can look at the rewards. Some of them are hidden, some of them aren't. And if you do enough of these, it'll clear up all the fog of war, and you'll be able to see all your rewards, right? And if you're lucky enough, you might have enough tribute to buy some of those rewards. You can spend 2,000 coins to re-roll it and get another screen full of revealed rewards. And then also, if you look at the ritual vessels themselves, this is an empty one. This is one that is captured from any of the ritual vessels that don't have a boss in it, right? If it's not tagged with a boss. And this one right here is tagged with a boss. This is one that you can get at the end of your maps, right? As long as the boss is inside that ritual vessel. And there's another one where there could be bigger bosses. You can capture Elder Guardians, you can capture Shaper Guardians, and basically whatever is tagged by that little bloody aura thing of the ritual. So what did I actually test out? Well, I tested out about 109 Shaper and Elder filled vessels. So you see this vessel right here. This comes from a item level, monster level 83 beach map, Glossy. This guy is the boss. He's like the hail rake kind of boss as part of beach. You probably all know him. But what I did is I did Shaper, Chimera, Shaper Hydras, Shaper's Minnow, and Shaper's, who's the other guy? Ponix? Yeah. So these four were the ones I captured. And then, of course, there's Eradicator, Constrictor, Purifier, and Enslaver. Yep, playing the game 8 years, by the way. So there's like those four as well. And so what I thought was like, okay, if I can capture ritual vessels, okay, there's always gonna be some monsters in there that affect the tribute. But what if I captured the big boy bosses, and maybe that would make it like the rewards super crazy, right? So we went out to test that. What I did is I had I had 2 columns in there. Okay, like 2 columns of 4. So I did like one of each of the Shaper Guardians. Then I tried out some of the Elder ones, and it didn't really seem to matter what you did. Like, for example, if you put in like 4 Hydras versus like 4 Enslavers versus like 2 Hydras, 2 Chims, 2 Minnows, 2 Enslavers, 2 Purifiers, like any permutation combination didn't seem to matter. All that mattered was that monsters gave more tribute, like the little monsters that weren't the boss, and the boss seemed to make the and the vessels themselves seemed to make the rewards much more rare. Okay, I'm gonna bring up this little screen right here. Now this is 109 maps worth of, once again, Shaper Guardians and Elder Guardians. And what we got here is, when we took a look at our Excellence Next, we got a result of 4,000 C of value. Now, let's talk about notable drops, because everybody knows that, how are we going to distinguish these drops from other drops, right? Because if you do a regular tier 60 map, you're probably going to get like 2 scourings, maybe a couple C, maybe an ouch, maybe a couple ancient shards, some garbage divination cards. So what I went into, it's kind of a meme now, it's like notable drops, okay? Notable drops are like, I've done hundreds and hundreds of regular maps with no vessels. So I was like, I have a very good idea of like what you can expect in a regular T14, 15, 16 ritual vessel. And in these, I took the higher quality drops only, okay? So if a ritual had like 2C in it, or like an ouch or something like that, I wouldn't take that because I can get that in a normal T16, right? Nobody cares about that because you want to know if it's worth using these bigger things for bigger rewards. So you can look in the top right, you know, we got some notable uniques. Tabby's obviously divine. We got rummies. We got like, you know, more rare uniques like Gruthicles. That ring I think has ally weakness on it or something. And then you can look at the currencies. Now, currencies was taken based on the criteria that like, well, first of all, was it a more rare currency and did it come in stacks? Because if you look at the 10 regals is not that much money, right? But you will notice, and also like 10 scourings, 10 regrets, you will notice that stacks of 10 of a currency showed up way more often in a 4 vessel map, right? Way more often. And a lot of time I didn't even take it because I knew that if I saved the tribute and re-rolled, there'd probably be something on the other side that I want to use that tribute for. So there were some things that were missed, like the lower currencies, or maybe like one harbinger here that was more rare, you know, but like for the most part, these are notables because they are different from what you can get in a normal map. Like if you look at an ancient orb, right? If you've done normal maps, you know, you probably get ancient shards, but there were plenty of times when, you know, I opened it and I never really got any shards, right? What I got was I got a full ancient orb or a stack of 2 ancient orbs. That's pretty cool. And then going with the exalts, you know, exalts showed up in like 1, 2, 4, sometimes 5, right? And that's pretty cool. You can see the exalts there, you know, some of the more rare oils. Those jewels might have like a double corrupt. Like I knew I got a mana reservation one, I got corrupting blood one, those already have sold. The fossils you can see are a little bit more rare than your usual like scorched, frigid, metallic, things like that. You can see the rarity of the scarabs. You know, usually the scarabs were a little bit more rare. If you do regular maps, you can get a lot rusted. But if you do the 4 vessel maps, you will get a little bit of the more polished / gilded ones. You got some delirium orbs, right? Delirium orbs are pretty rare, but you know, in the 4 ways, you know, you got some. I'm actually missing a couple delirium orbs here because I had to take out a couple because I was using them on maps. I like ran out and I needed that kind, so there's a couple missing. Oops, sorry, I'm messing up the data. You know, beachhead's kind of rare, and then there was a ton of blighted maps, and of course the div cards. Now, if you look at stacked dicks, right? Stacked dicks, they're not really that rare. You can get stacked dick 1 at a time, 2 at a time in regular vessels, but a lot of the time in these stacked dicks, it would come in stacks of 4 or 5. And I noticed that. I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool that they're coming in bigger stacks as well. And then just some random stuff that I was like, I couldn't be bothered sorting. Oh, Lily is here. Well, hello, my Lily. Hello, how are you doing? I'm doing a YouTube video. You want to say hi? This is my dog, my Lily. Okay, big hug. Okay, so let's continue the video. Prophecies are notable because I have a pretty strict filter on my prophecies. You know, things like Twice Enchanted, any of the Tempests, any of the things like Monstrous Treasure, Bountiful Traps, usable, you know, frogs, rats, things that are usable in maps and that you would use and not just like, oh, well, this is like 2C, so I'm going to include it, right? These things were included in these results for the total of 4,000 C. Okay, and that was pretty cool. Anyone who uses a vessel, maybe even if you use like 1 or 2, you will notice for sure that the rarity of the reward screen is much, much better, okay? A lot of the time as well, you're going to miss things because even though the rituals gave you, if I was using a deli map with like Beyond and stuff, you know, somewhere around like 15,000, low on the low end, maybe like 12,000, high end like 18,000, 21,000 tribute. You would still miss some things, okay? So what do I mean by this? This isn't everything because if I was a little bit smarter with it, I could have gotten more. So, you know, sometimes you're like, okay, my rule is I'm not going to I'm not going to re-roll the screen unless I have like 4,000 tribute. Sometimes I'd have like a lot more and re-roll, and there's like too much stuff. There's like another gilded. I had to choose between like gilded this and gilded that. I had to choose between like a beachhead map and like a blighted map or the other. Like, and sometimes you weren't like min-maxing because you just knew in the next map, or like, you know, you knew you would get something good. So that was kind of funny there. So this table does leave out a little bit of min-maxing if you spent a lot more time in the screen to really calculate, okay, which is the best value, right? Because like, you know, sometimes a stack of like 10C, it might cost like 4,000 tribute, it might cost 2,000, you don't know, right? It's so random, and that kind of like shifted things around a little bit, but not to the point where like it completely threw the results out the window. So this is pretty accurate. You can look at this, you can look at this little screen here, that's like 4,000C that I got. Pretty cool stuff there. Now, what else did I test that is important for this? Well, we know this is profitable, right? Because this is over like a course of 109 maps. If we get 40 exalts, then that shows, okay, you know what, like maybe like a third to a half an exalt, depending on like the rarity and stuff like that, because it came in bursts a lot of time, like the exalts and stuff. So, you know, if I'm doing every map and I'm getting like a third of an exalt, half an exalt, that's pretty damn good, right? Is that better than what you could have gotten with scarabs? Well, it really depends what you're running, right? And it's kind of hard and very tedious and not worth your time to track all these like tiny little gains with scarabs. Now, I think if you're focused farming a zone, you might find that scarabs are better. But remember, I'm only saying that these are worth it if you find these vessels yourself. And as these vessels, you know, it's really awkward to sell these. I don't know anybody else besides me because I was buying them from chat for the test. I don't know anyone else who's buying these like actual boss vessels, right? So super awkward to sell. So you probably use them yourself, and it's a nice little break to like jamble a little bit with the vessel, right? Because I did get a mirror. This one does not include the mirror that I got from it in the back end on the back half of these maps I ran. Remember, I got the mirror within, I don't know, it must have been map number 70 or 80, 90, whatever, but definitely under 109 maps for the mirror. And so pretty exciting there. Okay, so if you were to use these, you know, you can take a break in between your scarab maps, put them in, you might get something crazy. Let's talk about the other comparisons. So after I did this, we were thinking to ourselves, okay, so the 4 vessels, what have we learned? 4 blood-filled vessels guarantees 4 ritual altars if they all have bosses. So for example, if you have 4 Guardians, 4 Elder Guardians, whatever mix and match, you are guaranteed 4 ritual vessels. This is important for tribute numbers later on for like the money you have to spend on the reward screen. And it never was 3, ever. Not a single run with 4 bosses was 3. And this is corroborated by our tests on the regular map bosses. So as long as you have 4 vessels that are blood filled with 4 bosses, or 1 boss in each of them, you'll never get less than 4. That was kind of important. And then we also decided that, you know, the reward spikes and stuff like that, they were pretty reasonable. Like you could really depend on another spike of like exalt or some big item that was like super exciting. Another thing that we learned is that if you kill like the things really fast, right, the ritual is not going to last that long. That's another thing that we learned. If you look at a ritual vessel that's full, you can read the text, right? So it says that they spawn the monsters 20% faster, and that stacks with 4 of them. So there were times on the 4th ritual, and I think this is the reason why people get annoyed by ritual, right? Because it seems to take so long in regular maps without rituals, or without ritual vessels. It would be like 2 or 3 seconds, and the 4th ritual was just done because they keep spawning. You kill them right away, so they spawn faster, and then the thing would be done if you have a good build for it, right? So that was an important thing to note. And of course, if you also another quick note is that I guess I can go over this in the map boss one, right? Because there's no difference between them. So another thing we were wondering was that, you know, we read this like text, right? It says rituals have 20% proof favor rewards. That text doesn't change no matter what you have stored in the vessel. So we were thinking, okay, if it doesn't change the text, what about map bosses? Because Shaper Guardians, Elder Guardians are super hard to get inside the vessels. Well, not super hard, but like it might be 1 out of 3 maps the ritual actually spawns on top of the Guardian. So and they're kind of like annoying to run because you have to like, you know, you can do the formed and stuff, make money that way, but you don't get any sextants with these Guardian maps unless you're running the Elder Guardians. So it's like, oh man, kind of annoying to get, right? So we were wondering, what if we dropped it down and got map bosses, okay? Because map bosses like this one right here, Glotch from the beach map, you know, lesser rarity, right? Easier to get because you can just spam so many of these, so many of the map that you've chosen to run. For example, Canyon. Lots of people run Canyon. You know, you just run to the double boss. Now you have a double boss. Does double boss matter? Does regular boss matter? Does any boss that's outside of the Guardians matter? Well, it turns out that it doesn't. And how did we test this out, right? Because this is a super important question. Because if one was way better than the other one, then wouldn't it make sense to farm that one maybe, right? Try to get a mirror, try to get a header. So what we did is I started, after I bought all of these rituals of the Guardians, I started buying map bosses and I started hunting down map bosses myself, and we combined, and we weren't able to get enough because like just nobody really cares about ritual enough to like have these. So I wasn't able to buy that many, but if I waited longer, you know, maybe I could have, but I was able to get about 39 maps full of bosses. Okay, so a little bit less just because I didn't want to like force people to sell me these vessels, right? Because it's like hard to remember to capture them. You gotta like look at the rituals there. So I was able to do 39 maps worth with this. So what does that mean? 39 maps where It was 4 vessels once again, and every vessel was filled with a boss. Now, the results were, like I was mentioning earlier, there was always 4 ritual altars, no matter what. Not a single time was there 3, as long as there was 4, okay? A quick note about this. If you use 4 vessels like this right here with no bosses, you are not guaranteed. You are not guaranteed 4 ritual altars. And another thing, if you use 3 of these with bosses inside, so 3 vessels with 3 bosses in total, and like maybe a scarab, right? You are also not guaranteed 4 ritual altars. And this matters for tribute. I don't know if it matters with rarity. I'm not willing to test that because that's so many permutations I have to run down the line. I have to do like 2 and then 1. So that's just something to note for yourself if you are running these, okay? So what we decided to do, we ran those 39, and what happened? Okay, well, this is the, let me just show. I didn't organize this tab because I was kind of lazy, right? After I'd done the 109 maps. But Excellence Next is saves the day. And we look here, and for 39 maps, we have 1.383 C. Okay, so that's 1.383 thousand C. So that looks pretty good. Notable drops in here, right? Once again, capturing notable things, right? The more expensive essences, delirium orbs, better currencies, better fossils, etc. Okay, so if we look here, I did get 2 cortexes back to back one time. It was kind of crazy, very fun. Got a few exalts, right? Less maps, less exalts, of course. And so what we do is if we divide the number of maps I ran, 109 divided by 39, right? It's about 1.8 or something like that, 1.8 something. And then you multiply that number by the returns, right? Because we did, X number, X factor, more maps. We multiply by this number, 1.3K. What do we get? We get about 3.99 something, right? So that's pretty much 4,000. And if you look at this, right? I know this is an extrapolation. We're just like stretching out the results. It's not perfect numbers, but it's all we have to go on, and it's almost exactly the same. Once again, if you take out the mirror that I got from here. Now, a mirror is an outlier. If you look at the stats page, they say that without ritual vessels, 1 in 500,000 maps. So that's pretty safe to say that. I don't really like taking out outliers when people are doing map farm results, like they take out exalts and stuff, which doesn't make sense because you're always going to drop some exalts. But in this case, I felt it was pertinent to take out that mirror. So they are almost exactly the same, and I'm very, very confident. Other people that I've talked to in chat and people that have run these tests seem to say the same thing, that it doesn't matter the rarity of the boss. Like, given you're running like T14 plus maps, whether it's an Elder Guardian, Shaper Guardian, map boss, T14 map boss, T15 map boss, T16 map boss, whatever combination you use of different map bosses, it doesn't really seem to matter at all for the rarity. All you need is the 4 blood-filled vessels and with map bosses in them, and you're gonna get similar results. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So you don't need to waste your time like making sure that you capture elder bosses and making sure that you always have the blood-filled vessels with you. Just like maybe carry a stack if you enjoy it, and then if there is a boss spawn there on any map whatsoever, then you capture it and you save it for a 4-vessel run. Okay, so this information is kind of cool because you can use this to think, okay, maybe you do want to test out, because like at this point in the league, no one really cares about like a 2C drop, a divine drop, right? You want that big jamble. You want to hit the Piranhas, get the header. You want to hit the ritual, get the mirror, the header. You want to like get these bigger drops that are very exciting, right? And that's why people use things like time lost incubators. That's why people use things like Piranhas. That's why people farm things like ancient orbs, because they look at that big jamble, that big payoff, instead of like a couple C, which anybody can make these days in few seconds, right? So that's just something I'll say about that. And going forward, any other notes? Well, with these results, I would like to say that I will be doing another test. And what is that? Because I want to know some more data on how much the bosses matter, right? Because we already know that the type of bosses matter. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 109 maps with something like this. That's why I have these. I'm going to get 436. Is that right? 436 of these. And I'm going to run a T14 plus ritual vessels. I'm just capturing all the vessels all the way up, and I'm going to run 4 of these no bosses and see what the rarity is, because I believe that if I do 109 maps like that, I'll really see the value. Like, what if I only ended with 2,000 C on average? What if after running a lot of these, I kind of get the feel of like what the average kind of juice is going to be, right? And what to get excited about, and how like the spikes in currency come in. So if this feels really like bad or like whatever, because these are way easier to get, right? You get at least 3 of these every map. And what if it's the same? Because that first text line, rituals have 20% improved favor rewards. That's just what it says, right? No matter what boss is in there. So what if it's the same? Then that means you don't need to capture any bosses. You just bring in these vessels with you. You capture every ritual on the way up, no matter what, and then you use those. So that's a question I would really like answered, and I will be making a new video whenever I figure that out. I'm in the process of trying to capture these. I might start buying these because it's kind of hard to remember sometimes when you're running for your life in the map. And you know, you can't like just like click this and click the shrine. You might die, right? It's hard to remember sometimes. So I'll make another video about that and inform you guys. But for now, rituals I think are worth using. They are pretty darn fun. And you'd be surprised at how fast these rituals are, you know, how many monsters they spawn. One thing to know for juicers, you know, I'm a juicer myself, right? I love Beyond. I love spawning the rare mobs. I did not feel a single time in these maps, in any of these maps, okay, in the boss field ones, that I was missing like monster count or density, because when you hit that ritual with these vessels, how fast they spawn and how quick they are, man, it is pretty crazy. So that's one thing to know. If you're worried about, oh man, I'm gonna lose the juice, you know, I'm gonna lose my character's gonna suck, you know, that's not gonna happen. The maps feel very, very good. And yeah, and I was testing it on an iceberg map. If anybody cares about that, doesn't really matter. And yeah, that's it. That's my video. Test it out yourself, you know, have some fun with it. I think they're very rewarding, and I will be using these as I go after the next test. I don't know if I'll be like buying any of them for more tests. I don't know what else needs to be tested, but if anything comes up, we will definitely check it out. Okay, so thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions about this, I stream every day in the evenings on twitch.tv/QJog_. You guys can ask me any questions you want there. Okay, thanks for watching my video, guys. Bye guys. Bye.